Mr. Game & Watch. Let's get over here. So yeah, main character for today, Mr. Game & Watch. Let's pull up this guy. Let's put him there. So, first things first, let's go over just an intro here. So, Game & Watch. We all know Game & Watch was extremely powerful in 3.6. He had one of the best combo games. He had, just crazy stuff. This guy was nasty and was one of the more disliked characters, I should say. Pretty widely agreed upon to be a pretty disliked character by a majority of the community. It had a lot of players, though, and I'm going to go into why that was. But so we start here with what was Game & Watch, what was his game plan, or what is his game plan? Because the game plan hasn't really changed in a general sense. His gameplay, so obviously he's got big hitboxes. He's got big, disjointed hitboxes that dominate the screen. They last for a really long time. Look at those active frames. Look at that. That lasts for a long time. You got this one lasts for a long time. Even this one lasts for a while, right? This one not so much, but you have active frames. Look at active frames. Good jab. All right, so obviously you got this move, down A, right? So, the meme, like fucking you press down A is good move. But, so he's got big hitboxes, but what he doesn't have is amazing frame data in terms of being plus on block. He kind of has to do what Marth does with his aerials, in the sense that none of his aerials are inherently plus on block. They are all minus, but if he spaces it, you can't properly punish him with an option that would be fast enough out of shield to hit him, right? Most of the time. There are exceptions to that rule, but for the most part, like, he can outspace shield grab, right? He can outspace this. If he hits you with a fair right here, you're obviously not going to grab him. Right, if he hits you with the down tilt right here, you can't grab him, right? So same idea with Game & Watch. He can do that similar thing, right? He has these big hitboxes. He can space them on you and try his best to be safe. If he gets shielded and he's not out of range, he will get punished. Nothing he really has is plus, right? So he has that. He has large hitboxes, and that's what he wants to space you out with and wall you with. And then he wants to use those hitboxes and use the ability to space out to whiff punish you, whether it's whiff punishing your attempted punish of his thing, or just you trying to go in on him in general. He wants to whiff punish and get his grab game going. His grab game is pretty good, right? His grab game is all right. It still is. It was really good in 3.6, but it's still good in this game. And then lastly, a lot of times he doesn't want to be the one to approach you. He doesn't have a ton of good approach options. He has down tilt. Right, he has down tilt, comes out fast, right? Starts combos, pretty good move. Was his universal BS move in 3.6, but now it's just a decent spacing tool. Doesn't have nearly as many active frames. Actually, has half the amount of active frames, and has a slightly smaller hitbox, right? So not as good as it used to be, but still probably his best approach tool. He has back air. He can kind of fade this around, right? He can fade this a little bit. In and out, so he can kind of approach and then kind of fade back depending on where you end up. He can cross up with it. He has ways to use that as well. And he obviously has like run up and ferry, right? That's pretty much it. And he can also do some bacon to try and find an opening that way. But for the most part, he really doesn't want to be the one to approach. He wants to kind of bait you at a mid-range distance to kind of come in and then either find a move that way or find a down tilt that way or get a grab on you via whiff punishing, as I said prior. So that's kind of how he's going to play neutral and how he's going to get the openings on you. And that's stayed similar. Like, his game plan hasn't really changed. The things that have changed are the effectiveness of his game plan, right? Now, of course, like when we're talking about even 3.6 Game & Watch, like, okay, so we talked about Marth being somewhat similar in terms of the neutral game plan, right? Well, Game & Watch doesn't quite have the same advantages. He's not as fast as Marth. His dash dance isn't quite as good as Marth's. So that makes his walling and whiff punishing a little bit worse than Marth's, right? A little bit, he's not quite as good as avoiding moves and being quicker on the ground. He's got a decent wave dash, but I think Marth's might even still be better. So he just lacks in the movement department in comparison to Marth, right? So already he's kind of lacking in neutral, and that's always something we kind of knew, is that other than his oppressive normals in terms of their space coverage, he doesn't really have the same ability to play neutral as someone like Marth, who he gets compared to a lot. So we move on to why he was so good last patch, right? What made him so crazy? Well, first of all, everyone knows his ridiculous combo game, right? He had to grab the up throw, you fucking up air. Oh, what the hell? But, oh, my bad, I still have tap jump on. Let me fix that. So if you guys don't know tap with his up B, I'll show that right off. So I'll show that off right now. So his up B, you can jump out of it if you conserve your double jump, right? So that allowed him to do a lot of stuff in the combo department, right? He can do that and then come down. So yeah, his combo game was crazy, and it's even crazier. It was even crazier in 3.6. He had so many different ways to extend combos and to start combos, right? Down tilt, he had down tilt was better. He had back air into fair. He had up B stuff. Up B even comboed out of shield. If he hit you with this part of up B, right, it would actually sometimes combo into, a fair or something. Now they've made the angle a lot sharper in the other direction so that he doesn't really get anything. But, he had really ridiculous and easy combo game. Easy in a generalization, but simple. It's very simple to understand his combo tree. He had really large hitboxes, obviously. That all lasted for a long time. We went over that. That's a strength that he's always had. Even in stuff like Melee, he has really, really good hitboxes that have good active frames. And decent frame data. I mean, back air is not a super slow move. Fair is not a super slow move. Up air is pretty fast. Down air is not too slow. They're pretty good. Not, nothing like, crazy, but still pretty good frame data. And obviously great active frames and hitboxes, right? So he also used to be really, really good at CC. Now, he already has this kind of low profile thing going on. But on top of that, he's got this move, right? So you would get CC'd, and then all of a sudden, you can't CC him back because that down tilt would break CC really early, if not at 0. Or it would break ASDI down really early as well. So if you hit him and try to ASDI down his next move, he down tilts you, and now he gets his game going, right? So he had a great CC game. He could CC jab. Jab comes out at frame 2. He could CC jab you, and that could result in either you just getting jabbed repeatedly because you were getting, you would have to just SDI to the jab and he'd get away and gets just free damage on you. Or jab grab, which was, because jab, doing this was so oppressive and kind of ridiculous, and still kind of is, you would start respecting it, and then he would just one jab, just something like that, right? And then like that, right? And on top of that, that move right there, that used to work on so many characters at so many percentages and required really, really good SDI to not be comboed into either fair or nair like that. But moving on. So on top of easy CC for himself, he was also really good at beating CC, for instance, obviously with this move, right? I just talked about it. This move was the all-around universal CC defense mechanism. This move just kind of stopped CC in its tracks and allowed him to gain advantage from any kind of CC scrap that happened in the corner and mid-stage, right? And then he also had back air. Back air, multi-hitting move. And on top of being multi-hitting move, it had a landing hitbox that would actually knock down a lot of times or really stop CC. What it means is if you did want to CC punish back air, you would have to CC the first couple hits into shield and then shield grab the last hit because it wasn't safe on block. So you could do it, but it required a little bit more precise counterplay. So on top of so we got over his CC and anti-CC. So he's really good at that. Now on top of that, he had really ambiguous tech rolls. So if I go over here and I pick Marth and I put him on Mr. Game & Watch, Mr. Game & Watch, because of his 2D nature, you see how even in his idle animation, he kind of flickers around. He doesn't, have smooth animations per se. When he gets knocked down, his tech rolls and tech options share that same principle. They share that same idea where they kind of lack the movement frames, if you will. He kind of flickers from spot to spot. So when you would go for a tech chase, they were really hard to react to because they would have so many less frames of actual animation to read off of. They probably had like half the amount of frames that you saw right there. You actually kind of saw him roll there, right? You kind of got to see him roll, right? Well, in 3.6, that didn't really happen. A lot of his options, I want to say all of his options shared at least like 6 or 7 frames of exactly the same animation. I could be wrong on the number, but I want to say a few of the options actually shared the exact same frames right off the ground and would only differentiate a certain distance into the animation. So he's really, really difficult to tech chase, on top of having a frame 2 jab. If you were just slightly late, he could jab you out, and up B, right? He could just up B out, which is frame 3, and combos. So he was really, really hard to tech chase because of that, right? And if we go back to Game & Watch, right? If we go back, and we just grab Marth, right? No matter what throw he does, it all looks the same, right? It's the exact same animation for every throw. So unlike some characters, even like Marth, for instance, where if he grabs me, I can try to react to a forward throw, down throw mix-up, right? With Game & Watch, that doesn't exist because you don't know which throw he's going to hit you with. You can't see it until you're released from his hands, meaning you've lost the chance to DI it. You just have to guess. And with a move, and with a throw that does this, you know, with a move that could potentially do this to you, right? And he can 9 you. That meant that you always had to respect down throw and buffer a tech. You still have to do that now. But that was another thing he had on top of all of his strengths, is he had that throw game that you couldn't really DI for. Let's say he back throws you and you're DIing forward for the up B, you know, you're going to get fared or nared, right? Some characters had that confirm on them if their DI got mixed up. And because there was no reacting, you didn't really have a choice in the matter. You know, you DI'd the best you could and you hoped for the best, really, and you tried to SDI the next thing you did. So those were what made him super, super oppressive in 3.6, and why so many people had a frustrating time fighting Game & Watch, right? Why so many people disliked him and why he was such a villain of a character in 3.6. I myself also didn't like Game & Watch 3.6, and I was very happy when they announced that that P+ and he was going to be touched up and he was going to get some stuff, and I was like, thank God, because you know the tech rolls are kind of dumb. That needed to be addressed. Maybe up B out of shield shouldn't combo into a kill move. You know, maybe down tilt its hitbox should be touched up a little bit. You know, things like that. I was like, okay, cool. Let's see what happens. Then P+ happens, and his change log is massive. Absolutely massive. He got hit with a Nerf bat bigger than I've ever seen before. And while some people hopped on the boat that this was fine and that he was a annoying top tier and was cancerous to the game and all that fun stuff that everyone likes to discuss on Twitter, you know, let's talk about it, right? So why did people like Pikmon and other Game & Watches stop playing Game & Watch or change characters or pick up a secondary or drop the game altogether? Why? Well, we can say that they were carried and Game & Watch was broken, but I don't want to go that route. Let's see why they dropped him. So first of all, let's go over the things he had right in he was doing well in 3.6. His combo game, that got nerfed. His up B knockback was changed so that, you know, it didn't always combo. So Marth on FD at 100, that's, you know, no matter what my DI was, unless I SDI'd that up B, I'm dead, right? You know, if I do 100 and I just have him no DI, you'll kind of see what it would normally look like, right? Grab, up there, bam, right? Okay, that's your generic 3.6 Game & Watch combo right there. Pretty damn hard to escape. Now, obviously, DIs could vary, but you're most likely going to catch it unless they get a really nice an SDI on the up B. Now, we go to P+, and we're just going to have him hold straight out. I can't reach him. It doesn't work, is what I'm saying. That confirm isn't real in P+. It just doesn't exist. Full DI away, Game & Watch gets nothing. So, okay, he lost that. He also lost up throw at a lot of percentages. So, for instance, if we up Marth's damage a little bit to, let's say, 135-ish, and we still have him hold that DI out, I don't even reach him. And that's because up throw also got changed, right? So now up B doesn't even hit sometimes like it would in 3.6, and Nair will not connect even at the percentages it used to without any SDI at all. So you can get up thrown by Game Watch as Marth. And Marth was one of the easiest characters to do this to, by the way. He had some of the easiest up throw up B confirms out of Game Watch's out of the characters that it really worked against. So it's obvious, it's a lot harder, and the percentages are probably a lot tighter against other characters, right? So there goes that. And on top of that, he used to have a landing hitbox on this up air, right? A landing hitbox that would come out when he hit the ground, so he could put a lot of good landing shield pressure on you, right? He would, you know, if I come back here and we go to PS2, and we have Marth's shield, right? He used to be able to land here and actually be safe on your block because there was a landing hitbox of up air that would come out as he landed, where he could then go into jab or some other pressure. That doesn't exist anymore, meaning that he's got to be a little bit riskier when challenging on this platform because he can't just up air, right? So his platform ability to pressure on platforms has reduced as well, on top of the landing up air's combo potential being gone as well. So his combo game overall not as good as it used to be. Let's cover, so we talked about earlier his anti-crouch cancel, how good he is at dealing with crouch cancel, and how good he is at using crouch cancel. So he's still as good as he used to be at dealing with crouch cancel, just about. Now obviously down tilt got a little bit nerfed, so the range isn't quite what it used to be, but, you know, let's say, okay, they want to crouch, right? Let's say he's crouching, right? So Marth crouches. Marth is going to crouch cancel my move, right? I'm like, all right, cool. Like, I'm just going to fucking beat his crouch cancel, right? I know he's going to do it. I'm going to hit him with my down air, or sorry, my down tilt, right? Okay, 10%. That didn't work. 19%. Okay, that didn't work. Okay, now 27. Okay, now 34. Okay, now 41. Okay, now 48. Okay, now 54. So Game & Watch down tilt doesn't break true crouch cancel until like 50. Okay, so what was his other anti-crouch cancel tool that he had before? Well, back air. Well, what did I tell you before about back air and why it was good on crouch cancel? Well, because of that landing hitbox. Because the landing hitbox would break crouch cancel and ASDI down pretty early, meaning that if you did want to CC it, you would need to CC those first couple hits, these hits right here, and then shield as he landed to shield the landing hitbox and then grab him because it wasn't safe. He doesn't have that landing hitbox anymore. It doesn't exist. So this right here, he gets grabbed. He gets grabbed. He gets grabbed. He gets grabbed. Finally, it breaks at 50. So he can't really deal with CC until like 50. None of his other tools really break CC that well. You know, none of his other moves do well into CC. That gets CC'd. That gets CC'd. Pushes away pretty far, but he gets CC'd. You know? Like, if I put him at 0, that gets CC'd. That gets CC'd. How long does this freaking get CC'd, dude? Oh my god. So you see the problem is what I'm getting at. So he can't really deal with CC anymore. He loses a lot of these CC scraps that he used to win because of down tilt. He used to, you know, you would trade down tilts or strong scrap moves with him and he'd win every time because he had this move, right? And it would and then he wins. Now he doesn't. And even then he gets ASDI down until like 70. So if he's crouching, you know, if he gets put into knockdown, you know, he doesn't even get popped up until later. So 70. See? He's not popping up. Now he gets popped up. So at like 80, right? And even then we go back to that as well. So, okay. When does he die? Down tilt used to also be a nice kill confirm for him as well. If he caught you trying to CC something a little bit later, trying to ASDI down. That, you know, that might have killed me in 3.6. Let's get you off the platform here, Marth. I'm going to need you over there. No, not on the other platform, you dingleberry. Alright. Alright, so at 181, this would easily kill in 3.6. Not even on PS2. Right, so kill power on down tilt nerfed as well as the CC game. So there goes that. Alright. Now, so he's already worse against CC, and his combo game isn't as good. Okay? Still got good positives, right? He's still fine. Now, something he didn't have before was a problem finding kills. He could always find kills. So many moves would kill you. Fair, back air led into fair. If he grabbed you, that's an up throw nair or an up throw up B nair. You know, down air, you know, this, or if I can put him back in 100, you know, he had landing down air pop-up hitbox that would, you know, combo into nair, right? Something like that. He had tons of ways to kill you. Down tilt killed at like 160, you know, fun stuff like that. But now, how does he find a kill, right? He's pretty good at edge guarding, but how does he find a kill? Down tilt doesn't really do anything once he's not crouching, right? If he's DIing out, I hit a down tilt. That ain't comboing. That ain't doing nothing. We already discussed that grab with full DI out doesn't combo in anything. So, at least off up throw, which was his most reliable throw in 3.6. So how does he kill you? Well, the answer is unless he finds a random kill move or a random back air neutral, he doesn't. So, because he can't, well, how's he going to win neutral? Or how's he, even if he does win neutral with his particular moves that do win neutral very well, what is he going to do with it? And that has become a problem as well. He's actually a character that used to be one of the easiest at finding kills in the entire game. It was very not hard. Has become a little bit harder to find kills with. And on top of that, 9, which you used to be able to farm for, doesn't even kill until like 60 or 70 now. So he doesn't have that, you know, early cheese percent, which I'm honestly, I'm not really that upset about it, but I feel like they could have done a little bit of tuning with it. I think that's a little bit late, but, you know, I think that, I think they could have done a little bit differently in terms of balancing 9. But, you know, basically 9 isn't worth it anymore. So he's lost a lot of kill potential. So, so he lost a lot of kill. So how does he, you know, like I said before, okay, so how does he do anything in neutral at these later percents where most of his neutral wins that he would normally do at the low and mid percents aren't going to get him a kill? Well, maybe he could bacon, right? Bacon, cover platforms, bacon, and then like come in with something, right? Well, now he doesn't get 2 bacon per jump. He gets 1. Meaning that his his mid-screen space control isn't quite as good as it was in 3.6. So that's also gotten hit. So that's also become harder, right? Maybe it's still pretty good, but I mean, not as reliable, right? It's gotten worse, you know, undeniably. So that has become very difficult for him. Winning neutral at these later percents, he ends up getting arthritis, funny enough, unless he finds a random fair or something like that on the ground at those later percents, or gets a cheesy down throw setup or something, or finds a Dacus up smash. He doesn't really have a setup into a kill. You know, he can edge guard, but like, how does he get there at those later percents? He has to find a random move, and that's where you can really abuse Game & Watch in this in P+. So now we go to something I haven't really talked about much, which is his defense and survivability that have gone down, right? So he hasn't had a weight nerf or anything like that, and his shield is okay, like unlike melee, of course, but we look at a couple things that they've changed. For instance, like I said before, the up B thing, right? You used to be able to up B out of shield and not only be safe, but also maybe combo you, right? He was such a good reversal. You know, not to say that should be brought back or anything, but, you know, he obviously got hit, right? That actually killed. But, you know, it got hit so that he loses that, right? So there's a little bit of defense, you know, defense into offense that has been kind of removed. And he lost his bucket break, right? So if I ASDI down tech a hard move at later percents and slide off, you know, this ledge, I can actually use this bucket to stall all my horizontal momentum, right? You slide off, bucket break. That's what it was called, bucket breaking. In 3.6, this was really prevalent among the better players who could react to that setup and then bucket break it and then make it back where they would have normally died. That has been removed, so that amount of survivability is gone. So now he's one of the lighter characters in the game and lacks that survival tool that he used to have, right? So there goes that. So he's a little bit easier to kill now as well. So now we get to the last thing that I touched on was 9. You know, 9 got absolutely gutted. I mean, that's not really up for debate. It did get gutted. Now, we can argue whether that's a good thing or a bad thing at the end of the day, but that's, you know, that's what happened. 9 got gutted from now, and the problem was, now, obviously you don't want Game & Watch to just be up throwing people at 0 and just 9ing people. That's what happens in Ultimate and 4 and all these other, you know, and everyone's like, oh, wow, that's pretty dumb, right? And it is. So they decided to go about it by nerfing the hammer itself, by nerfing 9 itself so that it doesn't even kill you until about 60. Well, the only problem is, now the reason it was useful is because the risk reward was actually good for Game & Watch to use 9, because more times than not, you're not going to be able to find that kill when you grab somebody at 10 or 0. But if you can do a short combo into a 9 and get lucky on the RNG, or you've rolled enough times to get the 1 star, and then you could roll a 1 out of 4 or 1 out of 3 chance, then that's pretty worth it. You know, you get a kill. At the worst case, you get a different hammer and you come out neutral in the end. Like, that's perfect. That's risk reward's fine. When you get to 60%, when you could actually get a kill a more conventional route that is not dependent on RNG and is more so dependent on Smash fundamentals like DI reading and, up throw nair into an edge guard, that might actually be better than trying to go for a 9 where you could get a 1 and then you lose your advantage, right? You've now given up, and now you're going to hit that Game & Watch rightus, right? You're going to hit that where you can't really win neutral because any neutral you do get doesn't kill, so it's not worth to use it, like to grab or to down tilt, because it's not worth it because you don't get anything. And you have to start throwing out stuff like random fairs or random back airs or nairs, like late nairs, to try and get them off stage or get a kill. Instead, you can do a combo like that at around that same percent and get them off stage in a position where they can get killed without the use of RNG. So 9 has been gutted basically from viability unless you're trolling. So that's pretty much most of the stuff that they've hit on in terms of Game & Watch and its viability. There's a lot of other things too that have been touched, such as chair. Chair used to have literally 0 end lag. As soon as the active frames were gone, chair would be, you would be able to shield. And it was a little bit stronger. All of his smash attacks have been weakened, and a lot of his active frames have been cut down. So that's just frame data wise. But I just wanted to go over all the conceptual stuff. So that is all the stuff that has happened to Game & Watch in P+. So you can kind of see why players of Game & Watch would be inclined to maybe not really have as much fun with Game & Watch anymore. All the things that that he did well, he doesn't really do them well anymore. Like, if you like scrapping and you like that, having tools against CC, he's not really that good at it anymore. He doesn't really have that, If you want a crazy combo game, he actually might not be the best combo game anymore. He's still got a good combo game, all things considered, but he might not have the best anymore, so you might want to look for somebody else. The things that you may have enjoyed about him, and the tools that he had just, aren't really there. He still has a great recovery, still got good edge guarding, still has a good combo game, still pretty good on the ground. He's not slow. He's got, not a terrible projectile that auto cancels, right? Still has decent tools to play the game, and I don't think he's low tier by any means. I think he's a pretty solid mid to mid high tier just because of his good hitboxes and decent ground speed, and he's got a great ledge game. He can do, he could do like fade on stage up air into fade back. He can do really dumb stuff on the ledge, right? With fair, with ledge dash grab or ledge dash jab. So he's got stuff. He's not terrible. But I mean, for those people who used to play him, it's obviously going to be a hard sell. And you compare that to a lot of the other top tiers that didn't really get touched all that much. They kept their confirms for the most part. They only lost a few things here or there, such as Wolf or Wario or Meta Knight. Those characters that didn't get changed too much from 3.6, besides a few maybe some frame data, maybe a hitbox here or there, maybe Shine Glide, which isn't even nearly as good as Bucket Breaking, got removed. So that didn't hit Wolf nearly as hard. But that's where I'm getting at with this. So basically, to recap everything, was that Game & Watch wants to space well with his hitboxes and he wants to wall you out. But his best walling tools were nerfed in the sense that now stuff like back air and stuff like down tilt, you can just run up and CC those now. Their hitboxes are worse. They don't have the landing hitboxes. Their hitboxes got shrunk. His ability to scrap when in knockdown, or when he gets his opponent in a knockdown, or wall out because against characters that he can't really dash dance against effectively because his speed isn't very high. He's going to struggle with that now, especially against heavy rushdown, right? Because he's not going to have those anti-CC tools that those guys are going to want to use when they run up to him. And obviously he's not great on shield unless he's really spaced, so that's also a problem. He also, and like I said, he used to be really anti-CC, probably the crouch cancel counter pick, other than maybe like Lucas or something, right? Like Lucas down air or something dumb like that. I've seen, Hyperflame really abuse CC spam in his games back in the day. But, he might be the quintessential, and he might have been the quintessential anti-CC character in Project M. Now, I would disagree. He's definitely not that anymore now that his main tools that did beat crouch cancel, one of them doesn't beat it till 50, and the other one doesn't even cause knockdown till 50. Now this one like almost never beats CC until really high percent. So it's its ability to combo into fair has like that for instance has gone down, and its usefulness will and also in turn go down. So he's lost that. He can still find his grabs still relatively well. He still has jab grab. He still has things like that. Still a decent whiff punish game. But we just went over how his grab and his most reliable throw combo normally doesn't really work at the percentages where it would lead into a kill normally. And its counterplay has gone from trying to make the DI ambiguous into an SDI input to just hold out. Just hold away and you get hit by a B and you're fine. He can't fair you, he can't do anything. So, and then even past that, you just hold out at 120, you can't even get the B to hit you. So, his reward for the grab is gone down. He used to get a grab and used to fear for your life. Now it's not really the case anymore. You still got to buffer those techs, and the throws can still try to cheese you with stuff like that, right? Which down smash also got nerfed, so that's not as good. But could still try to do that. But overall, his throw game has gone it's gone down, so he's not rewarded as much for his grabs. And then his ability, and because of the bacon nerf and his hitbox nerfs, his ability to control space has diminished as well. So I don't know what the hell that hiccup was, but his ability to control space has gone down, and that means that he's going to be forced to approach more than he really wants to, and that's going to make shielding everything he does or run up CC a lot easier to accomplish against Game & Watch, to counterplay his forced approaches that he has to kind of commit to now that his mid-range walling game isn't quite as good as it used to be. And obviously because of that, he's going to struggle even more in neutral, where he already was considered by better players to not be the best character in neutral out of everyone in the cast. That was one of his weaker points, was his neutral. But but now it's probably a little bit worse now. And you compare, and like I said at the end, you compare that to other top tiers. They were not nerfed nearly as hard, and they kept most of their kill confirms, most of their DI mix-ups, most of their kill potential, all of that good stuff. They mostly kept it. So we got to ask the question, why Game & Watch? Why was Game & Watch specifically targeted with all these nerfs? Was he inherently better than Meta Knight and those guys? Most top players disagree. Most better players disagree that he was better than them. He was probably up there with them in some capacity, but not quite. I think what we can come to the conclusion of is that I think community toxicity towards the character and perception of what the character does and how he does it kind of played a part in why Game & Watch has turned out the way he has in Project Plus. Why players are dropping him. Why all these Game & Watch, one of the most popular characters in the game. You would see him in all these different top 8s and top 32s, and he was super represented in top Project M for years. And now you're seeing guys dropping him, like Pikmon, and other people, not enjoying the character as much. AED from Florida that I know, he's been messing around with other characters. I'm sure he'll still play Game & Watch a little bit, but maybe he'll pick up another character. I don't know. We'll see. But that's kind of P+ Game & Watch. That's why he is not quite as powerful as he was, and why people have stopped really playing him to the degree they used to.